Hello, everybody, and welcome to Conservatish, episode 256. My name is Peter Edgar Feliciano. Wherever you're listening, make sure you subscribe, share, rate, review, leave a like, leave a comment. It helps the algorithm. If you don't do that, I'm going to die tonight. Okay? Whenever you're listening to this, I'm going to pass away, and it's going to be your fault. Good thing we have a therapist on today. Pete died in a car crash that day. Oh my God. I should have liked his things. You can find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano and on Twitter at Rule62Peter. And I love you all very much. Thank you so much for joining Conservatish, ladies and gentlemen, and Zers, the wonderful Julia Pels, aka at the legal therapist. Yay!
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's funny that you brought up social media. I just have to say this before I forget. I found you on social media and I was like, he's so smart. He's so funny. His content is so great. And I'm not a bullshitter. I'm very honest and I couldn't help. I was like, I just have, and ever since I've watched all of your stuff online and I love it. And it was so funny because when I was like, I want to come on there and talk about this. And you were like, all right, let's do it. I was like, yes, because when I used to be in entertainment, I did podcasts, every other week. So it's nice to be here. And I just wanted to thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I'm not famous enough to reject you, yet. So that's what it. No, I'm just kidding. No, and not just that. I like people who are legit and can handle nuance. Anybody who likes my stuff. Actually, first, before I start sucking my own dick, why don't you promote yourself, please?
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, my name's Julia Pels, and I used to be a stand-up comedian, in the Democrat, I guess, arena. Now I am an almost licensed professional clinical counselor. I am in a master's program at Liberty University, which I love Liberty. It's a fantastic school. I'm not going to get into it because I'll just, do a whole commercial on Liberty University, but the college is amazing. The program is great. I start practicum in January, and I kind of just took a break from comedy, not for anything specific, but after the pandemic hit, I wasn't going to sit around and be a victim. So I've now transitioned. If I have to define myself politically, I'm a libertarian, but I think I have some more conservative-ish leanings. And I'm furious at what has gone on in the past, 3 years. Right. So, if people are wondering about that, I still do entertainment. People get upset. They're like, you're done. No, I do, private things, paid things. I just refuse to work with people who do not respect me and who do not pay me. It's very simple because, the Democrats, they'll try to rape you for everything you're worth. Excuse my French. But I'm just very blunt, and I just refuse to work with that situation or in Hollywood anymore. Not doing it.
And not just figuratively, but also quite literally. I mean, there were some, as crazy as the Me Too movement went, in some of the vagaries and people getting thrown under the bus, there was a whole lot of rapey. There was some rape going on over there in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Crazy, weird, a lot of weird things happening in Los Angeles in general.
Right. I think just bad energy, bad vibes. I can kind of tell the older I get, the more spiritually I'm, if I'm in a good place, I can kind of sense like, I don't want to be. I was just thinking about this on my drive home. I was like, oh yeah, I like that cat. But then I was like, but every time I've hung out with him, it's always kind of ended in him being a little blurry-eyed, a little drunk, a little like going off into a tailspin. And I'm just like, that's some energy. That's some fucking energy shit I don't want to hang out with. And it's okay to pay attention to that.
Yeah. I think that's a big, I always tell friends, and I will tell clients this in the future, pay attention to what your body feels like around other people. I think, I consider myself an HSP, just a highly sensitive person. It sounds ridiculous, but there is literature about it. It's not in the DSM, the diagnostic psychological manual, but there is a lot of validity to it, to external stimuli and like bright things. Like I wear sunglasses at night, not to be cool, but because when I walk into a grocery store, it's like blinding. And when I'm around people, or even, I know this is a lot of people think this is woo-woo-y, but I can even look at a picture and be like, that person is insane, and I don't ever want to meet them. And sure enough, if I've ever had to subsequently meet the person that I've looked at in the photo and said, there's something that literally my physical body is having a reaction to. I've never not been right. I mean, when you have those gut instincts, do not ignore them. That will protect you from harmful things, including abuse and being brainwashed.
Right. I've also been, first, let's get back to sucking my dick.
I love it. I love that.
This is why I'm not famous. But anyway,
you should be, though. Your content is so good. I'll suck your dick. I'm a lesbian. I will suck your dick today.
Hang on. Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, I am a lesbian and a pretty cute one. Not terrible, right? And I will suck your dick today.
Finally, the recognition that I deserve.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I got to say this, and I make jokes, but part of me is like, I am so sick of that, the lack of entertainment. I seriously, and I prefer to hang around with men, not because I'm gay, but we can talk about this later if you want. But sometimes the neuroses with women, women and men are different, right? Our society says, no, we're all fluid and la-di-di and the Care Bears and all that crap. But at the end of the day, we're very different. And being around biological women, sometimes it's like, woo, it's a lot. And I get pissed about how biological men are treated. And if we're talking about energies, I mean, it just goes on forever. But the point is, I'm going to stay focused. Respect your entertainment. It's not only authentic and honest, it's smart and it's good. I went to a comedy show the other night and went, this is terrible. And it was a, conservative or libertarian. It wasn't Democrat. And the comedy was terrible.
Can I again?
I get very excited sometimes, Peter. You should know this about me. You should have like a trank gun just in case I have like a little too much caffeine today.
I got you. Don't worry about it. I am actually I think I'm going to be getting a Glock, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not gonna necessarily talk about the brand and things or when I'm going to have it on me and things like that, because I don't know you motherfuckers. But I think I'm gonna, because I was thinking about an FN 509, but I'm like, it feels okay. But the Glock apparently is very just trustworthy. And you can pick apart a bunch of different pieces and move it around. I'm like, you know what? That sounds pretty good. It sounds pretty good. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. Let me,
Thank you.
Tell me how you like. I said to my father the other day, he lives in Chicago. That's where I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. I said, Dad, do I need to get a gun? Like, what's, sorry, I keep shaking the table with my hand. I said, what? He said, I don't know. He said, you're out in LA. You shoot yourself, or you shoot somebody defending yourself. He said, who knows what kind of, is going on in that court system. He's like, you could end up in jail. It's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to go for the stun gun that looks like the gun. Like, because what if you do? And this is a weird, I tell people, LA is like a different country.
It is
very weird.
It is. I would venture to say, me personally, even if that was, so in Texas, as an example, it's a very, pro-gun state, but not the most pro-gun. Apparently, all of the states in the area that touch Texas actually have better gun laws in some ways than Texas do. Yes. Constitutional carry is great, but there's a lot of signs and places that please don't bring in you. I feel uncomfortable around. With some places, I understand it in some ways, or I understand the logic behind it.
Sure.
But as an example, in a bar, you can't bring a gun into a bar. Now, the logic, I understand that. People are drinking, people are crazy, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But there was also one, I think it was in Seattle or Oregon somewhere. People are all drinking. Guys, blah, blah, there's some sort of fight. Guy goes out to his car, grabs his gun, comes in. What are you going to do? Just pray? Maybe call the police? Right. So it's like there's an element that we all have to make that decision of like, do I want to break the law?
Right.
No. But do I want to be raped? No. Which one do I like less? Okay. I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not advocating for you.
That's why I love and also because you do the and you're like, blah, 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 and blah, 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 like both sides of the dialectic. This is very important. Something I study in psychology. It's being able to see that both things can exist at once. You're like, well, do I want to break the law or do I want to get right? Like it's a kind of a conundrum, all of it really.
Right. And for girls, it does. And it's not something condescending. I swear to God, some this last, again, as I've said, I have sworn off white liberal girls. Never again. I'm all done for the night anyway. But
go there.
You know, the last one had a difficult time with like the logic behind protecting yourself, because there's an element of, well, there was an element of emotional immaturity in a lot of different ways for her, but there was this sticking point of like, no, I mean, you know, things are mostly safe. Absolutely. You could go through your entire life never getting into a confrontation. Good for you. But for women, like for men, we all kind of understand that gut level. Well, not all of us. There's a lot of dudes who are not very manly these days. But
right. Don't forget.
If I'm on a train, right? If I'm on a bus, we understand there's a level, there's a line that you don't cross. And it's subconsciously communicated within each other through that energy of, oh, if I say the wrong thing, I might get my jaw broken, right? And women don't have a tactile experience of that physical threat. You do have of the sexual threat, absolutely. And you pay attention to that, but the muscle of the physical threat doesn't really come into, it's like your mind. So I always kind of, I feel protective of women, and I'm not going to fucking apologize for that, girls. And you know, I was watching some shit the other day where it's just like, okay, yeah, we can be all rah-rah feminist, you know, and that's fine. But at a certain point, someone's got to stab the wolf. And if you're not going to do it and your bicep is not very big, who are you going to look to? I remember I was sitting in on an event the other day, or a few years ago in San Francisco. It's a nice event. Everything's cool, blah, blah, blah. But I'm looking around at this very crunchy, or they like to feel like they're crunchy, but they're not actually. They're authoritarian pieces of shit. And all these crunchy girls are standing around. And I just thought, if someone came in here with a fucking bat, who is everyone going to look at? Me. And they should. I'm not advocating for me that girls should somehow go to the gym and bolts up and fucking, you know, so that we're equal. No, bro. I pick up, you know, it's easier for me. So I follow that energy. I follow that, whether it's God, whether it's nature, who gives a shit. Ultimately, if I'm sorry to get woo-woo, but well, not really. But like, if I'm in my divine masculine,
right,
a motherfucker's getting his jaw broken.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the way it should be.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that. And it's just bizarre to me that, I mean, look, I always tell people, it's one thing to be like, I want the right to vote. I get it. You want the right to vote. Yeah. I would want the right to vote. Yeah. Like, so when we look at feminism, you know, when we started and then where it's gone, what? Huh? It's like a bad, like, novel that went off track somewhere. And you're like, why did I spend $25.99 on that? It doesn't make sense. It is completely negative and, dare I say, evil. And it's, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anyone could say where it went wrong. I'm going to use the term wrong because to me, so much of this anti-male, I guess, rhetoric it's really infuriating, and it's propaganda. It's a lie. I mean, it's not. They're not speaking facts. They don't pull from facts and say, well, this is what's good. It is a whole, you know, narrative, and it's so interesting to me because the majority of it is straight women. People think, oh, it's all the lesbians. I'm like, no, it's not the lesbians.
No,
it's not the lesbian. And I'm not going to speak for all lesbians, please. I can't even start with that whole alphabet, other stuff. Wait, that's a whole nother episode, Peter. But I just don't understand a lot of this. I don't understand why you would want to erase men. Men are my fathers, like one of my best friends, my brother, my guy friends who've known me for 30 years who would die for me. Why are we erasing men? What is this?
But that's what it is. You just answered your own question. You said you have good experiences with all these men. A lot of the women in the feminist movement do not have good experiences with men. I'll bring it a step further. Either the men were the father figure, the whatever, were abusive, okay, or they were absent, or even worse, that we never talk about in the grand scheme, they were wimpy. Oops. Uh-oh. Yep. We're going to talk about that real quick, because the reality is this. If a man doesn't make a girl feel subconsciously, not consciously, if he makes her feel unsafe, that's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
And unsafe can come from a lot of different reasons. It can come from a motherfucker punching her in the face, right? A piece of shit, like a, you know, a trans activist. Or it can come from a guy. I remember I was talking to an ex, maybe a year and a half ago or so, and she was talking about this guy that she was dating, and this ex that she had went and got dinner with or something. They had broken up years ago, and blah blah blah. And she's like, and I remember we had dinner, it was great, blah blah blah. It's been years since we, you know, dated and this and that. And then I remember he asked, hey, do you want to go walk around San Francisco Park or the whatever, some park over there? And she was like, it was getting dark, and she was like, no, it's okay. And she told me later, she reflected back to me, I knew that I didn't feel like he got it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And part of this was because I've had long conversations with her, like I do with most of the women I date, about reality and things like that. But
reality,
she's like, if you were there, if you wanted me to walk in the park like at night, I feel good. Like I'm good, because she's like, I can just kind of bumble along and bubble along and kind of be cool because I know you've got it. If something goes wrong, I know you're aware of the energy around us, and I don't have to pick up that mantle. And with her ex, she had to pick up that mantle because he wasn't on his shit. So that also causes subconscious resentment as well. You know, I think anyway.
Yeah, I do think that it's, you know, people are always like, well, Freud, and it's like, okay, but psychodynamic therapy is there for a reason. If we don't look at our past at all, we don't know familial patterns. What are our dating patterns? What is our attachment style? Did our caregiver neglect us? Did they abuse us? Is that why we subconsciously pick abusive partners that we don't trust to walk us home in the park? Right. So I think it's really worth any kind of trauma, you know, or fear related trauma is worth exploring. Now, I know not everyone has money or insurance, but I'll tell you, you know, I personally, before becoming a therapist, had always used therapy as a tool and a support system for myself, just at different times in my life. And there's always therapy available. It might not be the best therapy, but I will say, and if anyone's listening to this, you know, you can get a therapist through Medi-Cal or Medicaid. If you have no insurance at all, there's always sliding scales at hospitals. There's always clinics. There's community clinics. You can Google this. I think you can even, there's an information line you can dial. I don't have it on hand and I apologize, but I'm sure if you Google it, or I can even tell Peter, I can find it and give him the information later if someone wants to know. But there's always therapy available. You don't have to have $1 million to go to therapy. And I think people also think like, unless I'm in trauma, I don't need it. But really, I tell people you should think about going to therapy like working out at the gym. Do you work out once a month? Do you work out every day? You know, generally once a week is pretty good, but I don't need it. But what's your internal landscape? Do you get anxious at random places? Do you resent people? Like all these thoughts and feelings, you know, when people talk about like, how did this person end up being a psychopath or a killer or this or that? It's like, well, when you look at all their experiences compounded, whether they were raped as a child or neglected by their mother, or then went on to have more abusive, like whatever that is that never got addressed, looked at, or taken care of, how long has the leg been broken? That's how long, that's how many bones or the gangrene or whatever you want to relate it to. If you don't take care of your mind and your emotions and your vibe and the energy that we're talking about, all of those things, which to me is psychology related, it's your emotions, right? It's so many things, your experiences, the stories you tell in your head. If you never look at that, it will manifest in so many ways in your life.
Right. When did you first start going to therapy?
Well, I took my first psychology class when I was 16 years old. I was very interested, and my high school was a good high school. It was the suburbs of Chicago. It was a really good high school. They offered some AP classes if you were a junior. And I took AP psychology and AP sociology. And I think just through different experiences, a few family members were a little off. And I was like, what is this? I had always struggled with different perfectionistic tendencies and a little anxiety, a little depression. So I was curious, and I did very well. I passed out of it. And then I went on to undergrad to study psychology. So it's been going on for me for quite a while. It's like a ribbon through my own history thread of, I started therapy, gosh, I think in college, but I didn't really start taking it seriously till I was 26. And I went and I learned dialectical behavioral therapy, which I would recommend to anybody. I mean, it's a therapy that takes, it's a while. It takes a while to learn. Sure, there's shortened versions. You can Google DBT and learn the skills and all that. But I did that therapy for about 6 months, just for a number of different reasons. I felt at the time that I didn't have a very good control of regulating my emotions. I felt over emotional. I had some hormone problems going on at the time, and that contributed to the emotions. I had some familial issues. I mean, there was a lot going on. And just for me personally, I'd always been spiritual at the time. I wasn't identifying as a Christian. And I feel like my relationship with God, it was a struggle, but I also felt like the therapy and being at I was at Northwestern University. It was an outpatient, but it felt like a class. I mean, I was, in individual therapy every week. I did group every week. I did a skills class every week. I mean, you have to be very dedicated. And I did this as a patient or a client, but I loved it. And I have stayed in therapy pretty much my entire adult life, not because of any problems per se, but mostly because to me, it's like, well, I know it's tuned up and ready to go. It's a well-oiled machine. And it makes you less reactionary to things. You don't project your stuff onto others. You become less angry at the people who hurt you or abused you. It just really helps flesh out, I feel like, your life so you're more clear to live. And you're not kind of bogged down by, oh, this past lover or this happened or my mom or right. And then you're just like,
right.
How do you breathe? How do you pray? How do you meditate? How do you open your heart and open up and be free? Free, right. Not just with your gun and your flag, right? And I mean like an internal freedom, because I want freedom inside and I also want it outside. I want the government off my lawn. Get these kids off my fucking lawn, and I had to work hard at that and I still do. I still do. Just because I'm almost a therapist does not mean I don't use those skills that I learned when I was 26. Still use them every day.
That's my experience too, where it's just like, I think one of the journeys I've been on recently. So, I've talked about it on the show, but I got sober at 15. So I've been in the therapeutic world for a long time, about 21 years, and did a little bit of therapy back when I was a kid too. But, I was a troubled motherfucker. You know what I mean? And I've been on and off a troubled motherfucker throughout my life, regardless of being sober, as important as that is to me. And one of the things, that I've recently gotten to see is like, okay, so the therapy, the spiritual work, the whatever that I do, I see it more frequently. So I'm like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Okay. All right. I've been here before. You know what I mean? And by seeing it, it's letting it out into the open. It's letting it out into the air. And so there's less shame, because that's my first go-to is like, oh, I'm afraid. Now let's add shame to it. It's like, how does that fucking help, Pete, at all? But
right.
But that's what I've done. So my recent work has been to do that and to go, okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, I woke up and, immediately dunked my head in an hour of social media instead of meditating. You know what I mean? Wasn't great for my mental health, right? But, and that's why I feel like, and that's part of the reason I wanted to talk to you too, is this, if we're going to win, and that's a weird definition. What's that even mean? But if we in this game, who's we exactly? But if we're going to win in this game, we cannot afford to allow the same emotions that made the left go crazy make us go crazy. And just because we are, like you said, I've got my gun and I've got my flag and I'm free on the outside. Okay. How much McDonald's are you eating, kid? Right? How much, and hey, I'm a smoker. I get it. How much are you abusing people in your life? Are you alone? Hello. Are you, I'm not going to ask girls out because, they're all slutty leftists. Okay. Is that just an actual cop out for you being a little bitch right now? Now I relate, boys, but Do you understand? That's if we're not working on that muscle, we can be just as easily manipulated as the left is.
Sure. Yeah,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Yeah. Yes, I 100% agree. Yeah. I mean, I recommend therapy to everyone, and not because I'm almost a therapist. It's my lived experience. I've studied it for decades. And I see people, I see the different when I, like, for example, I have friends who are in therapy and I have friends who are not in therapy. The differences in those friends, I have friends that believe in something, Buddha, Allah, whatever, God, whatever. I have friends who believe in nothing, discrepancy. So I tell people, take care of your mind the same way you take care of your body, the same you have to take care of yourself like you're your best friend. I say this to myself every day when I want to write the shame. Oh, why did I spend $10 on 2 lattes today when I should have just made it myself with a coffee maker that I haven't bought yet because I was too busy spending it on mini joints and, whatever, sexcapades with my girlfriend. No, I'm just kidding. We're not that fun. We're both almost psychotic.
Damn it.
And we're both studying a lot. But right, it's like we could always go down the spiral of like browbeating ourselves. But at the end of the day, it gets you nowhere. You're ruminating, then you're anxious. Nothing's changed. So I always tell people, give yourself grace, give yourself a break. If you laid on the couch for an hour, you needed it. And look, if you disappoint yourself, write a list and do it different the next day. Because beating yourself up for the past will cause depression. It will cause anxiety. Then you're again in your own head, or maybe you start going down a tailspin. I didn't take out the trash. I didn't do that. Hey, tomorrow's a new day. You get up, splash some cold water on your face, write your list and do it.
Right.
And let yesterday be your teacher.
Right. And I would even add 2 more things. If you had a son or a daughter or someone who you were helping and they called you and they said, I didn't take out the trash today, would you tell them to kill themselves? Like, would you beat the shit? How fucking dare you? Maybe there's some therapy that might be able to help unlock. That's my dad. Oh, that's my grandpa. Oh, that's my mom. Oh, that's the
right. Whose voice is it to get? Whose voice is it that's saying you can't lay on the couch? You're lazy. Right. If even as someone, like I said, like almost like a recovering perfectionist, my therapist would be like, "Who said you can't take the day off? You always have to be doing like you can't take a day off without feeling bad." Oh, I feel bad. I can't commit to every single job that everyone wants me to do. Yeah, you're not fucking Superman, bro. You're a human being. Like, and I think that's the thing. I think, and in America, it's like we push ourselves. Go, go, go. Do. Up all night. Go, or fuck it. We're done. I'm going to lay in bed for the next month and fuck everybody and fuck everybody. It's like, see the gray. You can have a bad day and you can wake up the next day and have a good day. You could have a shit year and turn it around the next one.
And not just that, sometimes my bad days were really only a bad 5 minutes that I stretched into 24 hours.
There's a couple of things. It's like, do you have faith? Do you have hope? And can you reframe in your mind? A lot of it when people are like, oh, saying things in your head doesn't change. It absolutely does. I can either look at something like I have to do this for a year, or I can say I can do anything for 11 or 12 months. Right. It's how are you talking to yourself? How are you even framing your life? If every day you wake up and you're like, I hate everything. I mean, of course we all have those days. I leave the house and I'm like, ugh, I could have done everything online. This guy didn't, he screwed up my coffee. This one honked at me, right? It's annoying. People are annoying. But I say this as my psychological orientation is existential, because I feel like so many psychologists, a lot of it is pathologizing, when in reality, of course you're anxious. Of course you're scared. You're a human being. We don't need to pathologize, right? If we're talking about kind of opening our minds too.
And let's talk about how that also applies to, or let me just real quick add just this last thing, because it was on my head, everybody.
Of course, please.
One of the tools that has really helped me in the shame spirals is a nightly, what would I call it? Because I got to be a little bit careful. So one of my spiritual mentors offered this thing to me a few years ago to text him every night, or at least, and you don't have to text it to everybody, but just writing, make a list of things you did well today and things you could have done better today. Not only and I've been doing it for 3 years now. Not only is the list of things I could have done better always shorter than the list of things I did well, but also it's often not even real things. Here's what I mean. I was a little hard on myself, right? That's okay. So that's what you're beating yourself up for, Peter. That's what's like, when am I gonna grow up? Why can't I? Okay, so you're beating yourself up for beating yourself up. And so okay, that's usually one of the bigger things. Or I spent too much time on social media. Okay, let's contrast that, Pete, with what you used to do. Not just, pre-sobriety, yeah, but also with shit I did a few years ago that was very harmful to me and to other people. I mean, at one point I was 315 pounds. You know what I mean? That was some I hate Pete shit. Is what that was. That was, I'm going to punish myself. I feel horrible for the consequences of eating all this. So I'm going to comfort myself with more food, which makes me more fucking afraid and shameful. So I'm going to, and just circle. So me spending, I said, I took someone's comment seriously. Okay. That's not that bad, Pete. You know what I mean? And so I would just throw that tip out there, start making a list at the end of the day. And also meditation has been extremely helpful. But making a list at the end of the day. And what I find is my list of things I did well is like, oh, I meditated. Oh, I prayed. Oh, I made a gratitude list. Oh, I texted a friend. Oh, I had a phone call with a friend. I did a pretty good job at work. I created this content and I posted. I worked on a song. I did this. It's like the list is actual, not just longer, but concrete, real, accessible shit.
Yeah.
And yet, I mean, it's still difficult sometimes to realize, like, oh, that's what's more important than the one tiny little blotch of, but I wasn't perfect. But that's part of the journey too, and that's all right.
That's part of the human brain does that. I've actually studied that in our statistics, but however, it is known that we do tend to focus more on the negative for sure. I think almost any, psychologist, unless you kind of retrain your brain not to do that. It's much easier to, right? We see the news. Oh my gosh, the tornadoes or the murders, and we think it's all bad, but all the good things, that's kind of like the mind. So much easier to grab and focus and then go down a tunnel, a spiral of what we didn't do versus, like you said, your lists showing all the things in reality, because people are starting to believe that their thoughts and their feelings are reality, but that's not reality. I could think everybody hates me, right? Everybody hates me. Everybody, Peter, I know for a fact because I feel it and I know it. Everybody hates me. That's not a fact. Maybe it's real to me, but it's not a fact. And people have a very difficult time understanding, well, wait, of course my thoughts and feelings are real. Well, yeah, they're real to you. But that doesn't mean they're real. And when people say, well, what reality? This one. Right. I saw a documentary and I think it was that Matt Walsh with the gender documentary. And one of the women was like, one of the doctors, gender affirming doctors, was like, whose reality? And I wanted to be like, the one reality, lady. What do you mean? And she said it in this like childlike, like, whose reality? Like she wasn't in reality.
Well, not just that, but condescending. That's what I love. If you're a leftist and you're listening right now, you're really only a leftist because you believe that you're the intellectual elite. You only believe you're the intellectual elite because you got fucking sprung on Jon Stewart's delivery, bitch. Okay, Jon Stewart was not that fucking great. He was good. He was pretty funny. A little bit. Yeah, okay. And he had he fit into a mold, and he had Comedy Central, but also politics. And it was important at the time because we all needed to hate Bush a little bit. I absolutely agree with that. Right. Now, warmongering piece of shit. Absolutely. Possibly responsible for, but anyway. Planes crashing into, but what I'm saying is you got sprung on that delivery because it feels good to feel superior. Why does it feel good to feel superior? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. My mother's called. Why is she calling?
Because she knows you were talking about therapeutic things. Oh,
exactly. It's like
yeah. Hi, it's trauma calling. Just kidding. Just kidding. But you know, leftists, it feels good to feel superior to people. Just be honest. Just be honest. It feels good to bully, right? But that's not enough either. And that's why I keep harping on this shit, about, and again, I'm not saying it from this spiritual hilltop, I never do this to anyone else. Fuck you. You know what I mean? I come and sweat, I abuse people too. You know what I mean? We're all victims and abusers. Okay.
Yeah.
But why are you doing that? Because of insecurity. So if we first fix the insecurity, then the rest of it kind of, whose voice is talking, like you're talking about, So anyway, that was a long way to say, that feminism lost its mind because of fear, because of trauma, and also because of weak men. There's a lot of dudes out there.
It's
weak men. And just as a fun side note, boys, if you're dating, tell a woman no. It's a fun muscle. It's a fun muscle. It feels scary because she's, as Patrice used to say, holding the pussy hostage. Let her kill it. If it's something that's important, just say, no, I don't feel comfortable with you saying that about my friend, or no, I want to go here, or just make be solid, and you'd be surprised. A lot of women actually appreciate that. Anyway, continue, Julia. Sorry.
No. I think part of it is if you take anything to an extreme, right? It's like when you hear someone go, I always get dealt the worst hand. Or a woman says, all men are bad. Yes, all men. Believe all women. Stop. That's when I use a DBT, the stop sign. Stop. Because here's the issue. When you start saying things like everything, always, never, that's not reality. Right. Something doesn't always happen. Men aren't always out raping every woman. Stop.
Right.
Men's trauma, specifically crime, is underreported. Men are not as likely to call 911 and say, hi, my girlfriend just hit me on the shoulder a couple times in rage of some sort. Like, it's so underreported that the statistics are off. So much so that I would be bold enough to say men get abused just as much as women. Maybe not physically, maybe not sexually, but emotionally, you bet your ass they do. Absolutely. I've had friends, I've had family members, I've witnessed it firsthand. I've been abused by women. I don't want to hear that women are just fucking making flower crowns and bouncing around with their titties out and the Care Bears laughing. That's not reality.
Right.
Some of them are. Some women are lovely. Just like some men are lovely and some men are not. Most men don't rape. They don't want to, and they don't do it. It is a small percentage of people who actually will do it, and then they're repeat offenders. They don't get caught. They're not put in jail. They're not rehabilitated psychologically. That's what should be happening. But women also manipulate in different ways. They might not be out raping harshly. I'm going to rape my boyfriend tonight or beat the shit. But she could be psychologically manipulating to the point where he goes and hangs himself later that month. So when we start discussing abuse and victims and this, at the end of the day, you have to be your own hero. We've all been hurt. We either raped or yelled at. We had an abusive parent, a boyfriend, whatever, a girl. But no one gets out of this life unscathed. Nobody. So I suggest to people to get a therapist, get some kind of spiritual, whether you want to go to the Buddhist center, there's a Buddhist center down the street. You can go to the church, even AA, or, I went to Al-Anon. I loved Al-Anon. There's so much out there. And at the end of the day, it is your responsibility not to be a victim to anybody. Nobody can take your power away. They can try. People have tried to ruin me. I mean, literally, not just, oh, we're going to break her spirit, or oh, we're going to beat her up, or oh, we're going to ruin her. We're going to spiritually try to ruin her. And all it did, it made me stronger. It made me calmer and more grounded and smarter and more motivated. So thank you to all those of you who don't like me. Those of you who do like me, I love y'all so much more. But like, really, I have to thank the haters and the people who did assault me, the people who did do terrible things, because I'm better now. And there is always hope. There are always angels that will help you if you look around, if you ask for help, if you're just literally desperate, pray or meditate. You will find the help you need. I believe that. But it takes you have to take positive action. You have to get up. You have to call the therapist or call your friend or write the list, drink the water, don't do the drugs. You have to take responsible and find the support. Find your God, find your therapist, find your group of friends, find what makes your heart fucking sing, and you won't drown like the horse in the never-ending story that we all cry about. Artax! Like, don't be Artax. I think that's his name. Don't drown in the swamp of sadness. You can do it. I've been there.
Right.
And we've all been. It's like there's always hope. I know for people who are really suffering, though. You know, I had a suicidal family member, and it was this year, and it was, even as someone who's so prepared, even as someone who's it's so painful. And it's so hard because sometimes it's a chemical imbalance. Sometimes it's environmental. Sometimes it's this, it's a relationship. It could be a million things, but it's so hard. And that's why I tell people, just really hold on, love yourself, take care of yourself. Truly, if you can't do it within, and I don't mean you have to do it alone, but make sure you're checking in on a daily basis. Did I drink enough water? Do I need to stretch? Do I feel sad? Just check in. And that way it's not building. And then the next thing you know, like, what happened to the guy? Why did he shoot himself at the bottom of Griffith Park in the car at 2 a.m.? Because he wasn't taking care of himself. He wasn't loving himself. He didn't believe in anything. He had no support. And that was it. He felt alone. Don't get to that point.
And an extension, why did he go into a Walmart or a school or a whatever with a gun and shoot other people?
Right.
Sorry, everybody, but that's really what the actual problem was.
It is.
It really is. We've had more guns now than ever before, a higher percentage, I believe, too. And we have about the same crime rate that we did in 1990. So we have like double the guns and about the same crime rate. It was half the crime rate until 2020. I wonder what changed then. But the fulcrum between going and shooting up a bunch, doing a mass shooting and not, is not. That's the other thing, conservatives, and it wasn't a lot, but I saw a few motherfuckers online go, see, that's why we, trans people is a mental illness and they shouldn't be allowed to. No, red flag logs is no. Bad conservative, you dumb fuck. You do not give the government the keys to fucking anything, because they will go, thanks, and new phone who dis when it's time for you. Oh, wait a second. No, wait. What? My ex-girlfriend said that I'm crazy, so now I'm having my guns taken away. But they said thanks. They already got the keys. You don't do that shit, dumb. Principles before personalities. Okay. Yeah. I want trans activists to have fucking legal guns. I fucking want them to. I want them to. Do I think that they're crazy? Fuck yeah. Abso-goddamn-lutely. But if I have a gun and you have a gun,
everybody gets to have a gun. We can't regulate. Ta-da. Well, and I'm gonna say it, and a lot of people don't like this because you're this or that, but it's like, how are you gonna not? Well, I won't say it, but we won't. It's too long. The abortion stuff. It's too long. It's too long for today, but it's annoying, and it's. Part of me is like, it shouldn't, the government shouldn't be involved at all, but then they did, and then it's not, and it's like, it just, all of it is like, look, no government in my business at all. The end. Get off my lawn. Again, like, that's it. I don't care if what you identify. I don't want the government having anything to do with anything. That's what I tell people as a libertarian. I don't want them involved, because the second you get them involved, I mean, look at the big cities. You go down, now I'm in Glendale, which is predominantly Armenian immigrants. So you got a lot of American flags in this part. But you exit Glendale, good luck, because it is needles, it is homeless people, it is drugs, they've ruined the city. You know, San Francisco's a mess. Chicago, my hometown, is a wreck. I mean, Minneapolis, Minnesota, every big city is fucked up now. And it's no
fun little Chicago side note, and maybe it's two things that I also thank you so much again for joining me. Everybody, go follow
Thanks
her.
for having me. This has been so nice to just chat, and I so appreciate all of the. Really, the content is so funny. I hope that you, what is it, like Rumble? What's the new thing? Get picked up by somebody and you go big time, because
I'm putting it on Rumble. I'm putting, but I also you okay to go another like 15?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's a long story, but I mean, this is so much of my struggle through this, because I talked about it on the last show with Mike about being a non-liberal creator. They're censoring me and shadow banning me to the point of insanity, and they're wanting to break my spirit. They want to. It's absolutely intentional at this point.
And YouTube? Who is
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, I don't really post anymore on, but essentially it's mostly YouTube and Instagram. Even though I'm a person of color and they really want to, but not that. Don't do that. And we're gay allies, but I mean, I have had my dick in like 5 or 6 men's mouths over the course of my life. I wouldn't call myself bisexual, but I've dabbled. I've given it the old junior college try. It was weird. I remember looking down and being like, "You're not a girl." Maybe that's where the word queer came from, because I was like, "This is queer."
That's so funny.
I'm the greatest of all time, but they're censoring me and shadow banning me, but that's why I'm like, fucking not Serenity now, but like at that level where it's just like, hang on, if I sometimes have to, as on self-care tip, have to take like 2 hours, no social media, 2 fucking hours. It will still be there. The news stories, the really important ones, will still fucking be there. And then usually it's like 3 hours later, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess, I forgot about social media. And I'm having a better day. Okay. But I also want to, let me make this light brighter. Good Lord. But I also want to also point out that when, as far as the Chicago thing, I saw a video earlier today. Did you see that video of that woman being attacked by a large group of black teens?
No, I saw some. It looked like it was a clip, and it looked like looting, but maybe that's what it streamed. It went across my Insta, and I was like, "What is this thing?" And then I was like, "Oh, I got it, dude." I didn't get to see it. That's probably what it was, but it looked like a mob of something, and I assumed it was, because it looked like almost it was in front of a store, and I was like, "Is this a looting? What is happening?"
No, she was trying to go into her home, and it's a white woman, right? Believe all women, right? And they all jumped and beat the shit out of her. Men. Little, and some of it were, well, not men, boys.
Was this
probably somewhere. I don't know if it was a teacher. She was apparently, from the video, just trying to get into her home, and they were all going around, just a huge group of black teens, and jumping people. Right. Now, I'm also conscious.
You have to be physically safe. I mean, I'll be honest, I would not do stand-up comedy again unless I had one of my managers with me on stage he's a big man and he'd smash someone's face if they hurt me. Like, I would make him stand in the way. I do not. This society, it's after 2020, people will just fucking kill you in public and be like, I just killed this bitch. Right. Just like what you're saying. Like, who was she? How did they, why?
Well, here's the thing. Let's get into the psychology of it. That same energy is also, let's all grow, run into a Safeway or a Ross or whatever and loot a bunch of shit. Right. It's that same, someone else is paying the ticket. It's not mine. I have to prove I'm cool. I have to prove I'm a part of. Right. Which, again, what did we learn, everybody? It's not, that's just the symptom. The actual disease is I don't feel a part of. I don't have structure. I don't have consequences. Right. Again, weak fucking parents. Now, if it was a clique And I will, it's easy to say, but if it was a clique of white teens and a black woman, it would be everywhere. But you're being played, Democrat or black people, you're being fucking played. You got fucking played. And I'll say this, here's another example, or to loop it back to the other thing. Where did feminism lose its mind? I agree I agree with the leftist. Here we go. I'm going to agree with leftists right now. Everybody tuck your dicks. Here we go. It is white rich men, but they're using leftism to get more. Leftism is just a tool for them. They're like, oh, everybody's moving this way into this empathetic thing. Sweet, let's take advantage of that. Right? Remember 20 years ago when it was patriot, here government, here's the keys, Patriot Act. And they're like, thanks. And they're, it's proud to be in America. You got fucking played in 2001.
Yeah.
2002, 2003. Now they did the same thing. Government and rich white motherfuckers, Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab, but all these cocksuckers grabbing the keys and so thanks. And all they had to do, literally, not even change anything. They just had to put up a fucking rainbow version of their logo. And you cocksuckers went, that's good. They care. They don't fucking care. They don't care.
No. It's really, it's gotten so bad. And in the stuff, not to get, when I see Biden, now all I think is elder abuse. That's all I think now. I used to get so mad and be like, look at this. And now I'm like, this is elder abuse.
Right.
It's just gotten so bad. I mean, I can't even watch a lot of it.
Right. Right.
And in terms of the president stuff, it's like,
right.
What am I gonna say? It's just odd.
It is.
Because if anyone else behaved that way, they'd be like, "Who's this idiot? Chocolate chip." You're like, "What?"
Right. Actually, remember when Trump might have slid down instead of stepping down, and they're like, "Look at it! Look!" So, same thing happened with feminism. Is this just they plug them in we're the good guys, they're the bad guys. We're the intellectually elite, they're the dumb racists, right? So, of course, being a part of the team, but unless those dumb motherfuckers fix the feeling that they need to be a part of the team, the validation that they get from it will never be enough, and it will never be overridden by logic. Okay, it's not right. Keep your guns, train, right? Sovereignty, right? And be ready to set boundaries. Boundaries are an important part of taking care of yourself.
I wanted to say something about the women, though, because I was thinking about this, and I think that you're right, that a lot of the extreme, because I read, I'll read some of their tweets, or like some of the feminists, I put that in quotes because I feel like it's been kind of like Christianity has been manipulated.
Right.
I don't know the right word, but and I do think I'm like, oh, you're so hurt. But more than anything, because look, I have some friends who've been brutally raped and boyfriends that locked them in closets and stuff, that not positive experiences, right? And they are the kindest, positive, smart. They are not a victim. That's not to say you don't acknowledge what happened to you. That's not to say you don't grieve the loss of whatever happened during that trauma. That's not to say that you can't sometimes still get angry at the person who hurt you, or still be, but when it dominates your life, when it dominates your being, and it's almost like, that's why, in my opinion, we see almost this evil and like this influx of like personality disorders. That when people say, oh, it's a psychosis, it is, and it's kind of turned that way culturally with the feminists. But I think this is beyond feminism. I think this is misandry. Well, they're misandrous, right? They're male haters. So to me, that they shouldn't be calling themselves feminists when they're misandrists. Right. They're two different things. And that, I don't know if they don't want to self-identify and just say I'm hiding behind the veil of feminism, which originally was helping women just get the basic rights to vote or to their body, or things that I do think are important.
Well, I think it's even deeper than that. And everybody girls, cover your ears, but we're going to talk a little shit. We're going to give you a little medicine. Here we go. They haven't had to think about it. They haven't had to. All men understand that if I don't act, behave emotionally, mentally, whatever, if I don't speak a certain way, I won't get laid. Okay. That's a real, tangible consequence to my shit fuck thinking and behavior. Right now, I'm not saying guys do it well all the time. No, certainly not. I've had times where I, was a dick, in relationships, or I've had times where, I just acted like a bitch or whatever. We all have those times.
Yeah, of course.
But girls never, even if they're a 3, do not need to understand the consequences of being shitty, because we will always fuck you. We will, some dude will always fuck you, and therefore you get attention. Therefore you get want, right? Therefore you get validation. Therefore you don't even need to think critically about why someone doesn't want to call you back, baby. I always say, like, Amy Schumer, like, she was, she made some joke like, well, no matter how this or that I get. And in that instance, she was talking about her weight or whatever. And I'm not saying it applies to all. Relax, everybody. But she said, well, I can always catch a dick. Yeah, bitch, but can you keep it? Right now, there's a difference there, isn't there? There's a difference there, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
And what I'm trying to piece apart is this idea that we get fucked in different ways. Guys get fucked on the front end, right?
Yeah.
And then girls get fucked on the back end because, okay, I think this guy's good. I don't know. Okay, I'll sleep with him. And then, wait, why is he not calling, right? So you get fucked on the different way. But that first initial, no girl ever has girls, you can get laid any single time. So you don't have to, why that ties into thinking about, politics or whatever.
I go off on tangents, so that's okay.
Right. It's thinking critically about why.
That's what you're saying. They've never really had to face any kind of consequences, right?
Any kind of consequences. And also a bunch of women her friends will go, yeah, fuck him. Right. Yeah, fuck him. Yeah, it's them. 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 And you just bobble through life, especially if you're a hot girl, bobble through life without having to really mature in certain ways. You may mature physically, you may mature financially, but you do not mature emotionally because you don't understand. You don't have a tactile experience of, okay, someone asked me why I believe this, and now I have to really think about it instead of just going by what you said earlier, emotion.
Right. And I mean, I hate to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up. I mean, people were like, Amber Heard could never. Oh my God, she's so beautiful. And you'll hear that a lot. People will, with the documentaries and stuff, you will hear people go, oh, but she's so beautiful. Yeah, she raped her children and killed them and threw them in the lake. She's so beautiful. Right. So there is this, I don't want to, use the old mythical siren example, and women are prettier than men, right? So people have a cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is, all right, you can't match the two things up in your head. It's my mom, but she also killed my brother. How? And then your brain's like, nee. And so it's very difficult for our society to go, well, she looks like an adult woman. She looks pretty. So in the head, pretty equates kind and smart, sort of, right? That's kind of how, and if she's thin, that adds to it, right? She's not disheveled and she has money and then she does her hair and her makeup. You think you're dealing with a real functional human being, and you're not. You're not. You're dealing with someone who has maladaptive coping skills. They have no ability to be introspective. They don't know their internal emotional landscape. They could fly off the handle. They could throw a bottle and break your finger off. Okay. So people are like, oh, but she's so good in bed. Maybe she yells at me and throws a bottle at my head, but who cares? You should care.
Right. You
should care. It doesn't matter the gender. If your significant other is raging at you or hitting you or doing weird things, I don't care if she's a 34 double D and a zero waist. I don't care if she's hot as whatever, Sydney Sweeney. I don't care if her curls are bouncing and she is, giving you all the blowjobs. You will end up like Johnny Depp with a severed finger. Get out.
Right.
It's just because someone has a vagina, it does not, give them a free pass of you're not an abuser, you're beautiful, everything's fine. It's just not true.
And you add the blank check of political ideology to that. You
Right.
add, oh, not only am I really important and wantable at the bar, not only am I really important and the center of attention in all these other places, not only
Mhm.
do I not have to try fucking at all I have to do is post just a teensy bit of side boob, right, on Instagram. I'll get a bunch of likes, I'll get a bunch of attention, and if they give me the wrong type of attention from the wrong guy, I get to now villainize him, put him on blast, and
Yeah.
I'm the fucking hero. And then you add to that,
Right.
ooh, now I also get to be important politically. Now I also get to get attention and praise and have people listen to me because I
Yeah.
have a vagina, because I have tits, because I have a shirt that says Black Lives Matter, even though I have zero fucking black friends, right? I don't even have any friends, if you really want to get into the
Right.
definition. I have
No, they
acquaintances.
don't. And that's the thing. Like they don't, they do not. They don't have real friends. It's kind of like flying monkeys and the narcissists. It's supporters of abusers. They're just going to get into whether that's because they're sucking each other off. Maybe one's giving them free stage time. I used to see this a lot in stand-up comedy with the Democrats. It's like, I'm not going to be nice to you or book you on my show just because you think I need to. I think I was just always too authentic for them politically. I was too authentic for them in general. I'm also very open, authentic about my shortcomings. They don't like that. They don't like people who can acknowledge. I mean, this is just a reality. It's why I got out of that part of the culture. Now, if someone said, "Hey, come perform in Nashville, Tennessee, or Texas, or someplace that is not so woke, or with their nonsense." Sometimes that's all I can feel is like it's nonsense. I can talk psychologically or theoretically all day, but sometimes I get so annoyed. I'm like, this is nonsense, right? But I think really we have to just stay based in reality. And a lot of these people are not in reality. They're making up their own reality as they go. And that includes the friends of anybody who's just jumping on social media. I mean, at least Elon came in and kind of cleaned up Twitter. I mean, there's psycho. There's so much there. Well, there was. I think he's doing a better job of like getting rid of it. But there was so much slander or libel, right? And it's like, this is not even a real platform.
Right.
This is insanity. He's cleaned up a lot of it. But people, I think at this point and since 2020, they got locked in the house. They got depressed. It's like you said, they want attention and there's something missing inside. There's something missing inside and that translates to outside. But I think this can happen in any political group, not just the Democrats. Yeah. I think anyone can turn nuts. I think anyone, because here's the thing, again, I'm going to go back to this. You're a human being. I don't know why people think they can run around and tout, well, I'm this and I'm that. I'm like, you could murder someone tomorrow. Mm-hmm. God did not give you a magic wand to come down and tell me that being a lesbian, I can't be a Christian. I don't get offended if that's what you believe. That's okay. But don't tell me how to live my life. Ooh, I just shook the table, right? It's so odd to me that people get these like weird God complexes and think, well, now I'm all knowing. I'm a Christian. I'm a Catholic. I'm a this. I'm a that.
Right, but
who are you? You're just another human. We're all human beings.
Right, but if they're intellectually lazy to the point of thinking that if you disagree with me politically, you hate America, right? Or you're a pedophile. Like, I'm sorry, conservatives, not everybody's a goddamn pedophile. Fucking relax, okay? A lot of them at the top, I believe, are. I think you're absolutely right, but not fucking everybody. You think half the fucking country is? Would you shut the fuck up, dude? Seriously, right? Everything's Satan. Everything's just bro.
Everything's a lizard person.
Exactly.
They're all lizard people. We have to be careful in the own like little weaves we web in our own head, in our own mind, right? Like get out of your head, touch some soil, go take a hike to, get in nature.
And also call your fucking mom if she's alive, if you can, patch up your relationships. Go out to even if you want to go to the range, go with a friend. Go make a friend. Be a friend. If you want to be sorry, it's tech, whatever. But if you want a friend, to be a friend. I noticed that even today. I did this, I was feeling a little, and I was like, oh, wait a second, I'll text somebody. And then I text somebody and they were like, happy to listen, happy to hear from me. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's that feeling, is like seeking to connect first. I have to,
exactly.
God, this is fucking flown by the way.
And you know what? I always tell people, try to forgive yourself. Because so much of this guilt, so much of this anger, so much of this is either what happened to us and we can't just accept it. There's a skill in DBT called radical acceptance. It doesn't go, well, I've been raped, so I'm fine. You just go, this happened to me. It happened in reality. It sucks, but I accept that bad things happen. This happened. But then where do you go from there? You don't just stop at accepting the bad thing. That's a platform to get to the next level so you don't stay stuck in your trauma. Don't stay stuck in with the devil. If you believe in that, you can get out of whatever it is that you're in. You can get out of it. There's hope, and forgive yourself. I tell people that please forgive yourself. I do it all the time. And today, I was thinking, oh, I didn't do this, or oh, I should have had more patience. Okay, I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to pray, or I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to say, I wasn't the best version. Maybe I think about something even 5 years ago in the shower. So I'll start to do a shower meditation and go, okay, I feel really bad about this. While I'm shampooing, I'm going to picture all the negative feeling. I'm going to put down the drain. It's going to rinse off me. It's going to go down the drain. Just gentleness with yourself. You don't have to be gentle with everyone. You can still make raunchy jokes. You don't have to do the safe spaces, but be kind to yourself, because once you start, hating yourself, it's like you said, the bombers and the people shooting up the schools, they hate themselves. The most recent, the trans girl with the Nashville, she wrote in a text like, I want to die today. I'm going to commit suicide. And that's a lot of the psychology behind people who do. I was just on TV watching that the Boston bombings, and the guy behind that, and the boat and the shots and all of it. It's just like, they don't want to live. They don't want to live. Don't get to the point where you don't want to live. That's destruction. God is love. God is creation. God forgives you. You're never stuck. You can go. You can be free inside too.
Right. Amen.
Amen.
Fucking A. Ladies and gentlemen, the legal therapist, aka juliapels.com. Do you have anything to promote, my love?
No. I mean, you guys, if you want to check out, comedy, they can go to juliapels.com. My therapy stuff, I'm still in training, and I'll be doing that, but I'll be making new therapy websites. And if they want to follow me on Twitter, Julia K. Pels, if they want to, I tweet out little things, but I'm busy a lot, but I always say, check out the website. You can email me with any questions. You can I have a YouTube, whatever you guys want, check it out. And thank you, Peter. This was one of my favorite podcasts. And back when I was an entertainer, I used to do many, many podcasts. And this has been such a pleasure. I've watched you on social media, and I'm going to continue to watch you and promote you. And I want to come out and hug you in Texas, like a real meeting one day. We'll have to meet in real life.
Absolutely. Except you have to wash that Los Angeles off of you before a fucking bug spray.
Negative energy.
Get it off. But yeah, no, this has been awesome. Let's go shoot guns and eat barbecue.
Yes.
And then we'll do a meditation circle as well. We'll talk about our fucking inner child at the gun range.
Yes. I love it. I love to shoot. I love the gun ranges. It's so fun. Don't get rid of the guns.
No. Wherever you're listening, everybody, make sure you subscribe, share, rate, review, or I'll find you and I'll stuff your shoeboxes with preserves, not even jelly, like just fucking plasticky blue. No, raspberry preserves, just nasty. I'll find your shit and I'll just pack it full of fucking preserves because you didn't subscribe and share and rate. I love you all very much. And I'll go ahead and end the recording now. Bye, everybody.